So big shifts are hitting DJI users this week. We've got steep discounts, meaningful firmware updates, and a court ruling with some serious market consequences. So let's jump in. Real quick, if you're a fan of the channel and you've been watching for any period of time, or you watched my last video on this subject, you know that there was a technical issue and I had to pull that video down. So that's why I am remaking it, and here it is again. We'll be talking about the same stuff. So if you already watched that video, feel free to skip this one or watch it again, your call. But I'm down here in La Jolla, one of my favorite places to shoot. I've actually got a client shoot later this afternoon, but I wanted to make sure that I could remake this video to give it to all of you who had a hard time getting through it. So if you've been waiting for the right moment to buy DJI gear, this might be it. There are notable DJI deals out there, including some rare discounts on some of the brand new hardware. Now, DJI's first 360-degree camera, the Osmo 360, which launched in July with their dual 1-inch sensors, 8K video, 120 megapixel still, stabilization, magnetic quick release, built-in storage, right? All the things that we love about that camera. Well, it's seen its first price cut. The standard combo is dropping from $549 down to $412. Now, the adventure combo, which in my last video I mentioned was coming down in price, it's still less. That price is still lower, but it is definitely not as low as it originally was. And I think some of these prices are going to be shifting soon as we get into Prime Deal days. So honestly, I would grab that quickly if you can. I will put a link down below to that and everything else that I mentioned in this video. Those are, of course, affiliate links. They do go to help the channel. But the timing makes sense for this one as creators are heading into the fall and winter content seasons, and DJI typically does discounts, just not often as soon after a launch. Another update that we're getting on the pricing side of things is the Osmo Action 4. The Essential combo is now down to $239 here in the US. Now, the Action 4 combines a 1/1.3-inch sensor, and that handles light relatively well. It's got 4K 120. It's got horizon steady stabilization, waterproofing down to 18 meters, cold resistance to -4 Fahrenheit. It's got that quick release mounting system, and it has native vertical video. Now, the Essential combo includes the camera, long-lasting battery, and the mounting gear for helmets and handlebars, which is enough to start shooting without a lot of extra accessories. But it's not just the cameras that are getting discounts. The Mavic 4 Pro is seeing action on the pricing and the firmware side of things. Now, listing via various importers on Amazon have been a little bit more competitive for US buyers recently, despite the lack of an official US launch. But there are current bundles being listed for at least a few $100s off, getting you closer to, or in some cases even under, the original launch price. And again, these remain imports without official DJI warranty, but reflect the narrowing gap between Canadian and European markets when it comes to pricing here in the US. Now, the standard policy applies still for Amazon products with returns, but you should definitely verify your warranty coverage. And just a reminder, the Mavic 4 Pro is a 100 megapixel Hasselblad camera with a 4/3 CMOS sensor. It's got 6K 60 in HDR, and it has that 3-camera system with the dual telephoto lenses and that 360-degree infinity gimbal, low light obstacle sensing with LiDAR, and up to 51 minutes of flight time. So as holiday trips and winter sports kick off, these prices and package choices could potentially make now a practical moment if you're weighing a buy. Obviously, you've got to factor in warranty coverage, inventory, and how much you feel you'll use your gear over the next few months. But next up, let's talk about the Mini 5 Pro and its weight issues. Now, the Mini 5 Pro and this controversy, it's not just about a few grams, it's about some design decisions that you can see and hear. Now, if you hop on the Drone XL community forums, you're gonna see a ton of folks posting scale checks that put their Mini 5 Pros at between 252 and 254 grams, just over the widely watched 249 gram mark. Now, a teardown shared by a Redditor shows DJI engineers went to extreme lengths to save weight as much as possible on this device. They implemented an ultralight heatsink, custom aluminum screws in place of traditional steel screws, and a thin, flexible GPS antenna instead of a heavier ceramic unit. They even went so far as to use foil tape to replace the metal shielding on the main board. Now, despite all of that meticulous effort, the teardown uncovered a relatively large onboard speaker that's used to play the startup chime. Now, the speaker and its housing and the screws weigh just under 2 grams. So they're not the only contributor, but they're a significant avoidable piece of this overage. The conclusion from the teardown is that the extra grams are actually more so in the airframe, not necessarily in the batteries, and unless a unit ships without a speaker, most Mini 5 Pro aircraft will still sit north of 250 grams. And that's really a problem, as it makes the C0 certification, the CO certification that the Mini 5 Pro is supposed to have, what makes it invalid, because while it is certified, if your drone is overweight, you're not supposed to be able to fly it without the appropriate registration and identification, depending on the country that you're flying it in. And even that is changing, because if you're counting grams for compliance, the UK is actually preparing to change the math. And according to Digital Camera World, as of January 1st, 2026, anyone flying a drone over 100 grams in the UK will need a flyer ID from the CAA. And remote ID will be introduced for new drones with UK1, UK2, and UK3 class marks. Now, many consumer drones already include remote ID systems, and the updated guide clarifies where you need permission to fly outside the code and introduces a section on using a flashing light at night. Visual line of sight rules remain, with a 500-meter maximum if you can see the drone unaided. Now, exceeding those limits can actually lead to serious penalties, including potential imprisonment. And while the 250-gram tier remains part of the UK category system, and it's widely used internationally, these UK changes could potentially influence how manufacturers in other countries think about these micro mini drones. Now, if you've leaned on a sub 250-gram exemption, this is a reminder that thresholds can shift and design choices matter. So how are you thinking about weight and compliance going into 2026? Now, another update that I'm watching is on a brand new drone that we have from DJI. This is a bit of a surprise, as thermal precision just got a meaningful bump on a familiar airframe. DJI has quietly launched the Mavic 3TA. This is an upgraded thermal variant of the Mavic 3 Enterprise series, aimed at search and rescue, inspection, and public safety teams. Now, the headline change is an improved, uncooled Vox microbolometer with an 8 micrometer pixel pitch, down from the 12 micrometer on the Mavic 3T. Now, this is paired with a 60 millimeter equivalent focal length and is narrower with a 41.2 diagonal field of view for finer detail at range. Temperature measurements on this unit span from negative 20°C to 150°C in high gain mode, and 0°C to 500°C in low gain mode, with accuracy of plus or minus 2%. As far as availability is concerned, DJI's mobile SDK has been updated to 5.16.0 and has added support in mid-September for this drone. Resellers in several countries list the drone as available, bundled with the RC Pro Enterprise controller. So for teams already on the 3T platform, the 3TA's tighter thermal pitch and longer focal length are core reasons to consider a swap or adding this to your fleet, especially where small temperature deltas matter. But next up, we have a Mavic 4 firmware update to talk about. And this is a firmware update that a lot of shooters on the Mavic platform have been asking for, specifically adding the ability to switch camera focal lengths during video recording in both normal and slow motion modes. Now, this removes the long-standing interruption for dynamic shots of having to hit stop, change focal length, and hit record again. The update also introduces new portrait mode options with lossless and cropped vertical video, catering to platform-ready vertical captured shots. For folks looking for more flexibility when you're mobilely filming, the dynamic home point is now being updated to change your return to home location based on the RC2 controller's position. Now, obviously, these are paired with updates to the controllers themselves, so you'll need to update your controller and the Fly app to 1.18.0 for full functionality. Now, DJI has been continuously iterating through 2025. We had a May firmware update that brought audio recording via the RC Pro 2, cloud storage for waypoint flight tasks, tint adjustments, manual white balance across the triple camera system, as well as the fold arm to power off, gimbal roll control in spotlight, extended low angle perspectives in the sphere panorama, alongside image quality and obstacle sensing optimization. So for aerial cinematographers, uninterrupted focal length changes and platform-ready vertical delivery video creates flexibility on set, whether you're solo or with a team. But I'm curious what you would want next from the Mavic platform as far as firmware updates on the existing system. Now, moving on to cameras now, but still staying with firmware, we've got some quality of life updates for our brand new pocket camera, the DJI Nano, which I feel like is like a nano old. So the new Osmo Nano firmware adds slow motion video playback support, so creators can actually preview their 4K 120 FPS clips in slowed down form without having to wait for post. Now, the $299 thumb-sized camera is also getting optimizations for power consumption, heat management, and the rest to help during longer sessions or when you're in warmer conditions, along with minor bug fixes. The release follows up the Nano's launch day update, which was a few days ago, which added super night mode for low light, Mic 3 support, and vertical shooting preview. We also got horizon balancing in hyperlapse, anti-motion blur and stabilization, and optimizations for startup speed and SD card monitoring via the DJI Mimo app. And altogether, these updates show that DJI is turning both creative features and reliability in pretty quick succession. So for a go-anywhere camera, being able to review the shot and the way it looks and keeping temperatures in check are small changes, but they definitely make fieldwork considerably easier when this is your go-to for things like BTS or action videography. Finally, we need to talk about DJI and them losing a big court battle. So US court ruling just locked in a Pentagon label that has some pretty wide and pretty serious market consequences for DJI. So on September 26th, the US district rejected DJI's challenge to the designation that the DoD has, calling it a Chinese military company, which allows the DoD to list them on Pentagon's entities list. Now, the court did note that there were gaps in the evidence from the DoD, but deferred to the department and their relatively broad authority under sections from previous NDAAs, concluding that DJI does qualify as a military-civil fusion contributor, which basically means that their technology has substantial dual-use potential. And the ruling keeps federal contracting restrictions in place and comes alongside supply chain disruption, including U.S. Customs detaining shipments under the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. That's been going on since September of last year. Now, the implications here are pretty significant because in this market, 90% of police departments and 76% of registered drones rely on Chinese technology of some kind, and DJI is reporting losses in the hundreds of millions. Now, that's as contracts end, inventory tightens across multiple retailers, and customers are facing cost jumps for non-Chinese alternatives. For example, the Department of Interior documented that per unit increases have gone from $2,600 to $15,000 for approved domestic replacements for products like these. And the Drone Service Providers Alliance is estimating 67% of small U.S. drone businesses could close if they don't have access to Chinese manufactured equipment, and it could affect more than 450,000 jobs tied to the broader ecosystem. State-level restrictions actually amplify the impact, and we've got bans and limitations in states like Arkansas, Florida, Mississippi, Tennessee, Texas, and Utah, where Florida alone has grounded $200 million worth of drones, and Missouri has actually proposed grounding 90% of all drones for public safety. And that's before we even talk about the looming deadline that could reshape the entire situation here, as Section 1709 of the 2025 NDAA mandates a comprehensive security review by December 23rd of this year. And if no federal agency completes it, then DJI gets added to the FCC's entities list. And that effectively blocks its ability to get any new product certifications. Nothing from DJI, at least on the drone side of things, would be able to be sold and certified here in the US. Now, DJI claims that they've asked 5 agencies to initiate the review since March of 2025, and as of now, none have begun. Now, I did a whole video about this. You should go check it out, where I covered everything that's currently going on with the DJI ban, both in terms of the FCC restriction coming up with that security review, as well as the Customs and Border Protection holding on to lots of imports from DJI. Now, DJI responded to this court case publicly. They've emphasized that the court has rejected most of the allegations about the government ownership side or control of DJI by the Chinese military. And while they recognize that there is definitely that dual fusion potential for use of their technology, they reiterated that they've never actually manufactured military equipment. They don't market it for that purpose, and it's their actual policy to discourage such use. And they've noted that they didn't release the Mavic Pro or the Mini 5 here in the United States. So again, if we don't get a near-term initiation of this review, it's done time for DJI. But I'll keep it tracked, I'll keep you posted, and I'll update as we go. But that's it for me here today out of La Jolla, California. If you want to go ahead and support what I'm doing here, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. You can become a member, costs $1. You can also check out all the links down below. Those are affiliate links to go to help me here. That's it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.